Today's Get Involved webinar is entitled, What's New for Get Involved in 2012? Your presenters are Carla Lane, Stephen Ristow, Jennifer Bennett, and Maura Kohler-Hanlon. I'm now happy to introduce Carla Lane.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see a bunch of people joining us today. We have some exciting things to share with you and a little training at the end from our volunteer match friends. So let's get started. I know we've got some folks who have not been totally absorbed in this project as much as I have for the last 3 years. So I want to start a little bit and give you a history for those who maybe don't know what we're up to here. We're in the 3rd year of this statewide volunteerism project called Get Involved, powered by your library. The goal of which is to increase libraries' ability to utilize skilled volunteers, bringing them into the family, and watch them become strong library supporters. It started back from the Transforming Life After 50 Baby Boomers and Libraries project, which many of you are probably aware of. And as part of that project, library teams from all over came and were trained in all kinds of information about baby boomers and aging. And then they were asked to go back to their communities and do an assessment by talking to baby boomers, holding focus groups of baby boomers, et cetera, to see what they were interested in from the library. And then those libraries had the opportunity to apply for a small LSTA grant to implement something they learned. We were really surprised when the requests came in that fully half of the applicants came as programs to start volunteer programs in their libraries, because that's what they'd been hearing from the baby boomers they talked to back home. They were interested in volunteerism, but as you'll see here from a quote we had from one of those library assessments, baby boomers want to put their advanced and varied skills to use, but there's a disconnect because they want to volunteer opportunities they want. So that's when we created a statewide project called Get Involved, powered by your library. And the goals basically are to train public libraries in the skills and competencies to recruit and engage high-skilled, high-impact volunteers, and also to position public libraries as centers for civic engagement, and then to assist community members to find volunteer opportunities that match their individual talents, passions, and interests and get them involved. So what we've done over these past 3 years is hold 2 major training institutes for library teams, and we've also developed a strong partnership with the online volunteer recruitment system called Volunteer Match, which is available to all of the libraries in the state in a special way that you'll hear about more later. So it's baby boomers that are driving this change in how we look at volunteer involvement. So first of all, why do we care? And secondly, what are the changes based on what do we need to do to attract them as volunteers and potential library supporters? So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about baby boomers and why we're even concerned about this. First of all, we, and I am one, are the largest generation in history. We are 77 million strong. We were born between 1946 and 1964, and our ages at the current time are between age 47 and 65. We're the most educated and financially secure generation in history, and interestingly, a January 2011 MetLife study of inheritance and wealth transfer to baby boomers says that boomers are going to inherit about $8.4 trillion. We volunteer currently at higher rates than past generations did at the same age, and the message for you there is we are volunteering now while we're still working. As you see, baby boomers, not very many baby boomers have retired yet. The first ones just turned 65. So most of us are still out there, and the vast majority of us are volunteering even while we're still in the workforce. Nearly 2/3 of boomer volunteers want to get involved, but they don't know how. And a key piece of this is that most baby boomers have been in the workforce, and so we're looking for a little different way to volunteer than our traditional library volunteers might have been. We've got professional skills. We want to share them and be able to see that we're making a high level of impact. Now, the good news here is that that goes not just for the baby boomers, but the research shows that both the Gen X and millennial generations that follow us also have this interest, and therefore any tinkering we do with our volunteer programs now will also affect our ability to bring in those 2 generations. So right now, I mentioned the baby boomers are ages 47 to 65. But interestingly, as we've worked with libraries over the years, we find that libraries think we are already retired. We, the boomers, are already retired. And that if you already have a huge group of retired volunteers in your library, then you've reached the baby boomers somehow. And that's not accurate. So we want to stress for you, that's why I show you these happy faces here. These are baby boomers. We're ages 47 to 65. And think about it that Bill Clinton just had his 65th birthday, so he's one of the oldest baby boomers. But you know who else are baby boomers? Brad Pitt and George Clooney. Excuse me. One way to look at it is that Michelle Obama is one of the younger baby boomers, and Laura Bush is at the older end of the baby boomer spectrum. So we're everything from Michelle Obama to Laura Bush, but not Barbara Bush, who's in the generation preceding us. She's one of the silent generation. So now that you know who the boomers are, let's just talk about why boomer volunteers are different from the senior volunteers we've been working with. First of all, we have more physical ability than the previous generations did, and we expect to work past 65. And for those of you who are baby boomers, you know that we look at 50 as a new 30. The research shows that baby boomers, if you ask them how old they feel, they will tell you about 15 years younger than their chronological age. We also review retirement very differently. We see it as the second half of life and a way to move ahead and do something new and different than what we've been doing before. And Mark Friedman from Civic Ventures has talked about this as we view Jimmy Carter as our patron saint because we believe some of our best work will happen after we retire. And Jimmy Carter, of course, many of us remember him more for the work he's done after he was the leader of the free world than for what he did as president. So, but boomers aren't just looking at extending the years of working and volunteering that we've always done. We're going to be looking to add deeper meaning to the volunteer engagements and the work engagements that we get involved with after we retire. And a really key thing to know is that we have a different perception of aging. We don't want you to call us seniors. We don't want to be called retirees. And we certainly don't want to be called elderly or older adults. I think what we've come down to is if you call us adults, we'll come. So what might it take to attract baby boomers as volunteers? And remember that this also moves into the next two generations. They're looking for a similar kind of volunteer experience. We're going to need to offer flexibility and a wide variety of options. Not everybody is interested in book mending and book shelving. And although a number of people probably will continue to be willing to do those jobs, the vast majority of baby boomers are looking for a way to engage the skills and expertise that they bring to the table. They're also going to want to see how their time will make an impact on your mission. So you're going to need to be able to explain to them how whatever volunteer position you're providing for them, how that will make a difference in what's going on in the community and how you're serving people. We expect clear expectations of time, tasks, and training because we've all been in the workforce. We expect that. And so really what we're talking about, to sum it up, is we want to move beyond what we've called volunteer management in the past and instead look at a concept of volunteer engagement. How do we engage people in meaningful ways to do meaningful work for the library? And we've been having some terrific success. These are just a few short list of some of the skilled volunteer success stories that we have in libraries around the state, where people have recruited folks with graphic design, event planning, project management skills, all kinds of things that are really making a difference and are playing to those skills, interests, and passions that the baby boomers have. Now, what I want to share with you is that in our third year of Get Involved, we're making lots of resources available to you and some new ones that I wanted to just point out and make sure everybody knows that all this I'm about to tell you is available to any library in California. First of all, you know we have a website, and the URL is listed on the first slide in this series, so you can pick that up from the website, as Chuck mentioned earlier. What we're adding to the website this year, and probably I think we're going to unveil it in early January, is a searchable database. So you'll be able to find job descriptions, volunteer forms, handbooks, job descriptions for your volunteer coordinator, lots of great stuff in addition to photos, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. We also have a listserv that right now has over 350 library colleagues around the state on it. If you're not on it and you want to be, you just need to send me an email and I will add you to it. It's not a real busy listserv, and you can also choose to get it in a digested version, but anything related to the project or any national issues related to volunteerism, that's where we share it on that listserv. And also, if you have a question about how to do something or you're looking for an idea, that listserv has been known to be very helpful in terms of those folks feeding back ideas and information that they're using. Again, I want you to know that you all have a Volunteer Match account ready, waiting for your library. It's a free upgraded account that other organizations pay for through this Get Involved grant. We have one available for every library in the state. If you don't know if your library is using it, or you don't know how to get access to it, or you want more information, just send me an email and I'm happy to help you get on board. And you all know that we have great Volunteer Match support from Maura and Jennifer and others who you'll hear from in just a little bit. We're also doing webinars around the state. Starting with this one, we'll be doing more as the year progresses on issues of importance to you, things that we've identified that you've said you needed. But something new this year is we've created some regional peer networks. Some leaders stepped forward in 4 different areas. There's a group in Southern California, a group in the Bay Area, a group in the Sacramento area, and a group in the Central Valley. And if you want to be hooked up with those folks, if you haven't been already, let me know and I can make that happen. They're going to be managing a series of on-ground meetings and potentially some online meetings so that you could actually sit in a room with other folks who are working with library volunteers and get your questions answered or work on a specific subject. We also have available for you this year a free volunteer engagement online course. This is one that I did for the Transforming Life After 50 project, and you can find the link to that on our Get Involved website or on the Transforming Life After 50 website. When we did our symposia around the state this past spring, we asked people, what could we do for you? And what we found is everybody needed photos of volunteers in action. And the main reason we need that is on Volunteer Match, if you put a photo on your volunteer opportunity, you're going to get 3 times as many hits as if you just have an opportunity without a photo. Because part of what we're trying to do is help the volunteers see themselves in that position. So we actually have gone around, we had a professional photographer take hundreds of really high quality pictures, and we are in the process now of loading them into that searchable database so that none of you will ever again have an excuse for not having a photo to put up on Volunteer Match. And they're beautiful. You'll be really excited about them. One other thing we've done is had some postcards and bookmarks printed that look like this, and you will all be getting some of these in the mail. I think we did about 250 per branch is what's going to be coming your way. Now, the only exception is if you haven't participated before, I don't have some coming to you now, but I can get some for you. So if you don't get them, let me know, and I can make it happen for you. I've already used some of those postcards as thank you notes, but they could also be used as event announcements, etc. And lots of people have either bought a stamp or made labels and put them on the back of the bookmark that has your own volunteer coordinator information or your link to your website. Whatever you want to add to that is perfectly fine with me. And finally, I just want to announce something else that's coming soon, and that is something called Book to Action grants. And what that is, we borrowed this from the folks in the Multnomah County Library in Portland, Oregon, but our own Hayward Library did it last year as well. This is the idea where you take a book club, or you form a book club around a book related to an issue of importance to your community. You operate it like a book club. You might have an author event and people come and discuss the book, but we also have you partner with another outside organization so that the folks in the book club can participate in a community service project related to the topic of the book. It's a very exciting program. The state librarian liked it so much that she gave me more money than I asked for to try this out, and so we're going to be able to make some grants of about $3,000 to probably about 5 libraries. You'll see the information about that coming within the next week or two, and there will be I think probably a January 6th deadline for submission of that grant. So watch for that, more to come. Stephen, I know you're out there. Did I forget anything? Oh, he's muted.
I'm here, and
okay.
You did fine. You covered it all. Thanks.
Covered it all. Okay. And any of these things that you all have questions about, don't hesitate to ask either on the listserv or by shooting me an email or giving me a call. Happy to do it. But we're going to talk about Volunteer Match now. And before I turn it over to Jennifer and Mara, I just wanted to show you this. It's kind of teensy there, but what I want to show you is the amazing results we're getting on Volunteer Match. This goes back to May of 2009 when we first kicked off this relationship. And at this point, libraries are averaging 800 volunteer opportunities posted on Volunteer Match in any given month, and they're getting about 500 referrals per month. That means a volunteer has referred themselves to one of those opportunities. So we're getting some terrific results, and if you're not getting them, then you're either not on board and you need to contact me, or maybe you don't know exactly what you can do to make this incredible tool work for you. And that's why we've asked Jennifer and Mara to give you a tour here. Some of you may have noticed they made some changes over the summer on the Volunteer Match site, which are terrific. I find it to be much more user-friendly, but we've asked them to come and share with you some of the things that we think are most important and the things that people have been asking about the most. So I'm going to turn it over now to Jennifer and Mara, and take it away.
Thanks, Carla. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Bennett. I'm the Senior Manager of Education and Training here at Volunteer Match. And I'm Mara Curler-Hamlin. I'm a Senior Client Relations Manager here at Volunteer Match. So I work with Carla and Stephen directly, and have probably talked to many of you helping you with your Library Volunteer Match account. Great. Let's see. I think I should be able to move on to what we're going to be talking about today. As Carla mentioned, we do have a new look at Volunteer Match, so I want to just take you quickly through what's new. We've made a couple of changes over the summer. First, in May, we launched our new dashboard, and then in early October, we launched a new look to our whole website and a new listing wizard. So we'll be talking about the listing wizard. And we'll be talking about our new skills tiles, so how that works, how you can better find those volunteers with skills. As Carla mentioned, so many of those boomer volunteers and then all of the generations that follow want to be able to use their skills, their professional level skills, to make a difference in the community. So we'll show you what we've done with that. Carla mentioned adding a photo and making all of those great photos available to all of you. So I'll be showing you how to add a photo to your Volunteer Match opportunities. It's really easy. I like to say if you can add an attachment to an email, you can add a photo to your Volunteer Match account, so there are no excuses, especially now that you'll have some beautiful professional quality photos to take advantage of. We're going to add custom questions to our referral forms as well today, and documents. So these are tools to help you communicate with volunteers automatically. Essentially, it happens before you pick up the phone, before you even get those referrals from the volunteers into your inbox, those connections that Carla was talking about. When a volunteer says, I want to help your organization, I want to help your library, you can ask some questions and then send them some information, and that happens automatically through our system. We're also going to show you how to promote your opportunities. Mara is going to walk us through using the widget on your own website, and I'm going to show you how to use the syndication tool so that volunteers can find opportunities, and then also you can channel your volunteer opportunities into your website. And then we should have plenty of time for questions today. So if you want to type those into the chat tool, as you think of them, we'll be keeping track of them and answering questions as we go. Mara, anything to add before we jump in?
Nope, I think we are good to go. The only thing to keep in mind here as we go through, a lot of these tools that Jennifer is going to be reviewing, they're there to make your life easy. They're there to help you with your job. We spend a lot of time talking to volunteer managers such as yourself, and these tools are built to just make everything as seamless as possible for you and cut down on the amount of work that you have to do in terms of recruiting volunteers.
Thanks, Mara. And I think that when we move into the listing wizard, which we'll be doing in just a moment, you'll see that the tools really do make it much easier for you to spend just a little bit of time on Volunteer Match in your account and really get the results that you're hoping for. All right, so this is our new web page, our new home page. If you have been on since the summer, if you haven't been on since the summer, this might look a little bit different. We have streamlined some of the information. You may have remembered that there were a lot of tabs across the top. We've changed the colors, just sort of given it a little bit of a facelift. We do prioritize that search box, so for volunteers to find opportunities, but it's essentially the same when someone does a search. We know about 80% of our searches are location-based. So if I pull up San Francisco, you can see all those opportunities that come back. In the search results, we'll talk about what shows up in search results, that title. And we've talked, if you've joined us for any of our trainings in the past, we've talked a lot about how important it is to have a creative title, a title that stands out from the crowd. And I'm not going to point fingers at anybody right now, but I'm not sure I would be interested in volunteering in any of these opportunities. The title is the first chance to grab a good, get your hooks into a good volunteer, so you want to make sure you're doing a good job. And we'll be taking a look at some examples in just a minute of good volunteer titles. You can also see that there is a link to the organization here. So if you haven't looked at your organization profile page in a while, you might want to take a look at that. Make sure that your information is up to date. You can also have volunteers write reviews of your library up on Volunteer Match, so have them give some feedback about what it's like to be a volunteer there. And then you'll notice that there are a few sentences that show up in search results. And these are your second chance to get your hooks in a great volunteer, if you will. The title is the first time that a volunteer makes a decision. The second time a title makes a decision, a volunteer makes a decision about whether they want to learn more or not, are with these first few sentences. So you really want to make sure that you're putting your good information up there. And again, we'll take a look at a couple of examples in just a minute. Keyword searches, and I'm going to use, let's see, library, or maybe we'll do reading today. See what comes back. We get a lot of questions about keywords. Keywords are generated by the volunteer. They type in what makes sense to them. So you want to spend some time with your volunteers. If you have really great volunteers that you work with, you want to make sure that you are listening to what they say about your program, ask them why they volunteer with you, get some feedback, and put those words and that language into your opportunities, into your descriptions and your titles. I have a story I tell all the time about the literacy coordinators at the California Library. Carla mentioned we've been doing this for 3 years now, and we started with a pilot program for the adult literacy programs. And we were talking about literacy and literacy this and literacy that. And I believe it was the volunteer coordinator from Sonoma County who came back to in-person meeting that we were having and said, I did what you suggested. I sat down with my volunteers and I asked them to give me that 2-minute elevator speech on what they tell their friends and family about why they volunteer with my program. And not a single one of them used the word literacy. They used the word reading, they used the word teaching, they used the word mentoring and coaching. So you want to make sure that you're putting that language in there as well. And I think this first one's a really great example. Not that you take literacy out, but you put in those more colloquial terms, help with reading, adult literacy, and ESL programs. So as we scroll through, you can see there in the reading section, you can see some of those opportunities. I'm going to jump up here and take a look at this one. Let's take a look and see what's here. Oh, what a great photo. Benicia Public Library is doing a great job. Here's, it looks like volunteers with a great caption. By helping her with reading and writing, Ellen was instrumental in helping Janet pass her citizenship test. That's amazing. That's a great impact statement. Carla mentioned boomers, and really pretty much all volunteers want to make sure that their work is important and they're doing something that makes a difference. You want to include an impact statement. So here you can see the photo, great impact statement, great information in this description. Might be a little long. We try to aim for about 100 words, but you can see you want to make sure that you're not providing so much information that a prospective volunteer feels overwhelmed. This additional information that's in here might be great to attach as a document, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. What you put on Volunteer Match is really sort of the storytelling, it's the persuasive language, it's that important impact statement, and then a call to action. So you want to make sure that you're doing the best job that you can to get that information across, using as few words as possible and using really welcoming language, short, succinct sentences. I love this, we'd love to talk to you. You know, we'd like to talk about your possibilities for your volunteer experience. It's a great call to action. Here you can see some of the details, skills, and we'll be talking about how that's changed and how we've standardized that. So we'll be taking a look at that next. I'm going to click the I want to help button. I don't know if the Benicia Public Library is using custom questions or not. It looks like they're not. So if they were using custom questions, those custom questions would show up here. You could ask questions that are might be useful for a variety of reasons. Are you over the age of 18? Are you willing to go through a background check? Or you could ask some more experiential questions around skills or experience that you're looking for your volunteers. Have you had any experience in education? Have you ever worked with someone who was learning to read, whether they were an adult or a child? And ask for a short answer question in that kind of format. And then that information plus the volunteer's contact information will come to you when that volunteer clicks the send button. Now, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to refer myself to an organization. Benicia's a little far for volunteering for me. All right, so that's essentially how Volunteer Match works. We're going to go in and take a look at the new listing wizard so that you can get your opportunities up.
And just a reminder, as we're going through this, feel free to enter in your questions in that Q&A box. We can either answer them as we're going along or answer them at the end, but feel free to use them.
Thanks, Mara. All right, so I'm going to go in here and find an opportunity for us to look at. And if you haven't checked out the new dashboard, one of the things that we've added is an ability to bulk change your expiration dates, which is pretty exciting. I can go in if I was to select more than one opportunity, as long as that opportunity didn't take place on a certain day. Here you can see this opportunity takes place on a certain day. If it's any of those ongoing opportunities, can be changed in bulk using the change expiration tool. So I can click Save. It will automatically go to 180 days in the future, which is 6 months, which is our maximum expiration date. All right, I'm going to go in. Before we go into the existing listing, I want to show you what it looks like to add a new listing, because I think you'll notice right away that we've done some pretty exciting things here. If you remember, and I'm going to forget exactly how many pages it was, I want to say it was 13 pages to post a listing, and now you can see we've limited that to 5 pages for adding information and then a 6th page for review. At the end of that process, your opportunity will be posted, as opposed to the 13 or more that you had to go through before. This first page, it looks really similar. The title, the contact, and description were those first 3 fields that we had before. You may notice that you get some assistance here when you start typing, and we've added some in-flow help, I believe they refer to it as.
It's like Jennifer is right there with you as you post your listing, reminding you of all of those best practices.
It's true. So you can, again, use that creativity. One of the great things about the work that you all do at your libraries is that the impact is so powerful. Everyone's been to their public library. Everybody has a story about finding that book or feeling involved or finding that librarian who helped them get the information that they needed. You want to make sure that you're conveying that. One of my favorites is help if I could spell. This is a great one. I think maybe because I did always want to work at a library. I'm not going to make you guys watch me type too much, but I wanted to just show you how easy it is. Again, this is a great job for a volunteer to help you take your position descriptions that are probably pretty formal and maybe a little bit dry and turn them into that persuasive language, include those impact statements. You know, put those calls to action together, take the position description and tell the story about why a volunteer should come and do this job for you, how they can make a difference, how it's important to the community. Contact, we're not going to spend too much time digging into each of these boxes because I want to make sure we get a chance to see the whole listing flow, but you can have as many administrators and as many contacts as you want, and that's easy to pick from the drop-down. Again, as Mara said, here I am telling you all those same things that I just told you. This is a great place to remind you that this oftentimes is your first chance to make a good impression on a volunteer. Many of the volunteers who find you on Volunteer Match may not know much about your library or what you do in the community, so make sure that you're representing your program and your library in the way that you want it to be represented. That means proofreading, that means spell checking, that means checking for grammar errors. We do have a spell check tool if you're concerned about grammar, or it's always a great idea to have someone else look at your listing, or you can write them in Word and use the grammar and the spell checking there and then cut and paste them into Volunteer Match. I'm not going to do too much typing today. I'm just going to maybe put that in there since it's a box that has to be filled in. I mentioned that keywords are words that volunteers can type into that search box. This allows you to put other words in as keywords that don't exist in any of those other boxes. So for example, if we're talking about literacy and we're talking about reading and teaching, if you put reading in your title, if mentoring exists in your description, you don't have to put those words into the keywords box. So one of the best examples that I can think of is if you work with children and you talk about your program as having an impact on children and having them love books and get them involved in the library and become good community citizens, you might not use the word kids to talk about your program because maybe that's not how you represent your program, you don't represent the work. But somebody might type in kids to the search box because that's how they think of younger people, as kids, not as children. So I could put kids in here as a keyword, and that would be included in anything that someone typed in for kids, even if the word child exists in the rest of my document, or the rest of my listing. All right, I hope that makes sense what keywords are. You don't have to retype anything. So any words that show up in your title, your description, your skills boxes, or in your requirements fields don't have to be included. But if there are some additional words, synonyms, you can put those into the keywords box. The interest area, again, we've made it really easy. You can you need to select one. You may select up to 3. So I'm going to select just a couple here. And now the thing that I wanted to show you about starting with a new listing is one of the great tools that we've added is Save a Draft. So now, as long as I've typed in something, maybe I started to write the title and the phone rang, I can just save a draft and it will show up in my, there we go. You'll get a little note, your listing's been saved, and it will show up in in your dashboard. Sorry, I'm having a little moment there. So here we can see, you might notice the status, active, inactive, draft. There's that listing right there. So I've got a couple of drafts in here, and I can come back and I can revisit them. I'm going to jump back into this one so you don't have to watch me type. It's always under pressure, although I've realized that I thought I was turning into a better speller, but it's just that Word has learned all of my mistakes and corrects them for me. So
you need to spend more time at the library.
I've always been a bad speller, and I used to spend a lot of time at the library. I don't know what that is. It says about me in my brain. All right, since this is an existing opportunity, we don't have the draft opportunity here, but we do have skip to review. So if you wanted to come in and just update your title, make a few changes to your description, and that's all you wanted to do, you could simply skip straight to the review step, unlike before where you had to go through all of those steps. But we're not going to do that because I want to show you what comes next. So I'm going to click Update and Next Step. And you may have noticed that we've moved from the what to the when and where. And something else we've done with our listing wizard is show you what's existing ahead of time. So here you can see what we've done already. This is what we typed in before. We can see what it looks like. We can see the short version and the long version. And if we caught a typo or if we wanted to make a change, we could jump back to edit from there. Or we could go click back on the what and jump back there as well. So now we've done a couple of things here, and for those of you who manage more than one branch, I think you'll be pretty excited to see what we've done with our address library. So now I have the ability to store addresses. So if I want this opportunity to take place at a different location, I simply type that or pull that from the list, and it will update that information there. Or you can still make your opportunities virtual, and virtual opportunities can take place or can be done from anywhere, usually using a computer and the internet, but you don't have to have volunteers come into your organization or into your library for training or anything like that. So if it can be done from anywhere, it's a virtual opportunity. You can keep those addresses available to you as you move forward. So if you entered a new one, it would show up for the next time. So if I decide I have a new branch or a new location, and it's smart, it knows what the zip code is and all of that. So I can add that one to my address book now.
And you'll also notice that map auto-updating as you type. So that's a great tool to make sure you're getting your address in correctly and that Google Maps is recognizing it.
That's true. This is just a block away, so the map isn't too. Oh, but we did have it in New York before, right? Yeah, so you could see it automatically update. We still have the opportunity to make listings either ongoing or things that happen on a specific date. So if an opportunity goes on for a couple of months, or you can take volunteers at any time, this is probably the answer you're looking for. This is ongoing and flexible. We'll work with your schedule. And then we do still have the opportunity for specific dates. So either one time, where you have a one-day opportunity, maybe it's a library cleanup, everybody's going to come in and dust and check for books that have been damaged, and you can put a start time and an end time if you want. It's not required. When you click in here, you'll get that calendar, so you don't have to type in the date if you know where you're going. Or you can do a date range. So maybe you need volunteers for a spring break camp, or you have a program that starts at a specific time, maybe an after-school tutoring program where you need volunteers in place from September 1 through December 1. So that's opportunities for you to put those in, and again, you'll get the calendar. I'm going to leave this as ongoing and flexible.
And before we jump to the next step, we do have a question from the previous page about how many keywords we're allowed to input and whether you need to separate the keywords by commas.
That's a great question.
And I think, as Jennifer Cox, who's fighting a cold here, I can probably answer that one. I don't believe there is a limit, although there is a limit. She's nodding.
I think it's 100, it's big. It's like 120 characters, so it's a lot. You can't, if you click on the keywords, you'll see you'll get a little tutorial. You can add commas if you want, or quotes if you want the words to be together. So if you want, in the example here, it's math tutor. If someone were to type in math, it wouldn't necessarily come up. It would only come up if someone typed in math tutor. You can put commas between words if you want to, but you don't have to. It will add them all together. So it will say any sort of combination of this. So if you put in read as a keyword, it would bring this one back. If you put in teach as a keyword, it would bring this back, because teaching is the longer version of teach. It's smart. It knows that those are the same things.
Great.
Great. Any other questions?
That's it so far. We have a question about photos, but we'll get to that in a second.
In just a minute. Yep. All right. It's the image tab, so just a little preview. All right. So I didn't save my work, so you can see that that address has disappeared. But I'm going to say update and next step and move on. You always want to make sure before you navigate using these buttons or using your browser button that you've clicked that button at the bottom of the page to either save your work or move to the next step, because otherwise you will lose it, like we just demonstrated right now. All right, so here again, you can see we've moved to requirements, and you can see that we can see what we've added before. Here you can see we've changed our great for boxes to suitable for. You can get a little bit of information about what that is. We often get the question, I'm looking for volunteers that don't fit into any of these buckets. And what our response to that is that we know that most of our opportunities are suitable for adults 18 and older. So we have made boxes for you to specifically target those volunteers that we know really struggle finding opportunities. For example, kids and teens. If you're under 18, it can be really tough, and if you're under 13, it's really, really hard to find volunteer opportunities out there. So if you can take teens in your programs, make sure you select this box. If you can take groups, make sure you select this box and decide how big of a group can you take. We have kept in older adults. It's something that our organizations ask for a lot because they are looking for those volunteers with those skills that Carla was talking about, potentially with more flexible schedule. So if you want to specifically target those boomers, make sure you put this in. Now, it shows up as older adults here, but when we take a look at the listing flow, it actually shows up as 55 plus. So Carla mentioned that boomers don't want to be called older adults. We've added that the little icon says 55 plus, not older adults. So we're trying to be sensitive to people who are older in years, but not necessarily older in spirit. All right, I mentioned that we have created a new skills tile, and we're actually working with Taproot Foundation here in San Francisco to create a skills taxonomy. And Mara and I worked with them pretty closely to make sure that we are using language that is familiar to those volunteers that come from the for-profit world. So if you don't want skills, you can turn it off. But if you are looking for volunteers with certain skills, you can go in and select that skill. And you'll see you'll get a variety of opportunities or different buckets to go in. And this is, again, a standardized taxonomy. Our first step is going to be to get our organizations, get all of you to start using this taxonomy to create these skills tiles. And once we've gotten sort of a critical mass, if you will, we will turn this on for volunteers so that volunteers can come in and search specifically by these skills. So it will at some point be a two-way street, but right now we're building some engagement on this side, so make sure that you go in and create these tiles. If you had skills in there before, you may remember there was a title and a box. We have kept your title as a tile. That's hard to say. We've kept your title as a tile. So I'm going to go in, and you can see as we hover over a bucket that makes sense, you can see something, literacy and reading, mentoring. I can add that in, and it quickly becomes a title. You can have up to 6 tiles. If you're not finding what you're looking for, you can type in your own skill in using the other box. Let's see. Oh, I just blanked. What would be another good skill for this, Mara?
How about ESL skills?
Oh, that's in there. Oh, no, that's actually a taxonomy one.
Is it?
Yep.
Well,
that's okay. We'll add this one in. I can't think of one right now, but if you have one that you want to add in, this is one that I added, strong English language skills. I added in. Maybe we're looking for bilingual Spanish speakers. And I can just click create. As I said, you can have up to 6. All right, we have made another change, and I don't have any opportunities left that haven't been opened in my demonstration account. But if you remember, there used to be a big box, and you could type anything into that box under requirements that you wanted. So if you did that, the first time you opened it up, you would get a box that had all of that information saved in it. So if that information is important, it's not easy to recreate, you want to make sure that you have put that information somewhere else. So cut and paste it into a Word document, save it, because as soon as you close out that little window that shows up, it will be gone. But you can see what we've done is really standardized, again, some of those things that we know are really common. So you can see background checks, orientation training, minimum age, and again in others, you can type in something different. All right. Again, if you don't have any requirements, you can turn it off, but it's always good to have those minimum age and things like that in there. I'm going to click Update and Next Steps, and we're going to get to the photo. I am going to upload a new photo. You can also upload photos using your photo manager, which can be found on your dashboard. I told you it's just as easy as adding an attachment to an email. So I'm going to browse, and I'm going to find that photo. I saved it in an easy place, but you could look, open up your folders, find what you're looking for. I'm going to attach it. You want your photo to be 1 megabyte in size or smaller, and that's actually really big for the web. So I'm sure Carla will make sure that those photos don't need to be edited. I know she's been working to make sure that they're the right size, so you shouldn't have to worry about that at all. But if you're using your own photo, you could just open it up using Photo Manager or one of those other tools on your computer to edit photos and just save it at a lower resolution. Now I'm going to give it a title that it means something to me that I can pick out of a list, because you'll see when we go in that you're going to have to pick from the title only. And as we saw in our great example, a caption can make a big difference. All right. Oops. There we go. I'm going to click Continue, and it's going to upload that photo. It's going to show up in that little box. It can take a minute or two, depending upon the internet connection. I can click Continue, and it will have added that. If I wanted to change it, here you can see the titles. So I'd have to remember what that is. So Photo 1, Photo 2, that alphanumeric code that comes with your camera, not great titles unless you have a really good memory. All right, so you can see all the things that we've done so far. I'm going to click Update and Next Steps, and we're going to move into the pieces where we can update those custom questions, as I mentioned, and do those documents that I talked about. So to add a custom question, I'm just going to select Yes, and we're going to click Add a New Question. And if you've ever used anything like SurveyMonkey or any of those tools, you'll know that this is pretty similar, pretty simple. You can do menu options where there's drop down, select one, multiple choice, choose one, multiple choice, choose many. So if you have a question where a volunteer might be able to have more than one opportunity, what days are you able to volunteer? Which of these areas are you interested in volunteering with our library? You could do the choose many. That short answer question, and then the multiple line question. I mentioned asking questions about experience. Have you ever taught someone to read before? Have you ever worked with children?
So again, you can kind of think of this as your initial vetting of the volunteer. What are those first questions that you ask the volunteer when you first get on the phone with them? You can kind of get some of that legwork done up front, which makes it very easy for you.
Great, yes, absolutely. And this happens on that referral form that I showed you, where a volunteer would get this as a custom question with that box that they can always type something to you in, and then they could give this information to you, and it will come.
It will come in your referral email.
Thank you.
So when you receive the email letting them know, say that Jennifer signed up for your project, you will see the answers to all of her custom questions. And you can ask up to 3 of them for any given project. So that really gives you a good bit of space to work with in terms of what questions you want to be collecting from those volunteers.
And you can see all the questions you've created before, and you can select up to 3. You can create as many as you want, and you can make them required or optional using this box here. So if you remember, it used to be much more difficult to do those custom questions to add. We had to drag and drop. I'm not going to talk too much about the confirmation email today, but think about using that confirmation email to, again, start to build that relationship with a volunteer. We're going to attach a document, and again, you can store up to 5 documents and attach up to 3. Everything you've uploaded before exists already, but I can click Add a New Attachment. It's the same process as we did with the photo.
And that document, again, is going to be attached to that confirmation email. So what pieces of information do you want that volunteer to have even before you talk to them? So this is a great way for you, again, to save some of that legwork for you in terms of getting that information to the volunteer, letting them know a little bit more about your program, giving them a form to fill out in terms of your volunteer application. Any of those pieces of information that you know you're going to need to collect anyway, you can go ahead and send it to them even before you talk to them.
And it can be, the file can be a Word document, it can be a PDF, an Excel document. It needs to be 200K or smaller, and that is actually not very big for Word documents. So if you've created an application in a Word document and you've put in your logo, sometimes Word can be a space hog, so you might want to save it as a PDF or think about creating it in Excel. I'm not sure where the 4.8 came from. Mara and I were just giving each other funny faces over that. Things change at Volunteer Match, but it's usually 200K or smaller. We've given you another 4.8K just in case today.
And usually that's 1 or 2 pages in a pretty well compressed PDF.
Yeah.
On average.
Okay, I'm going to say update and next steps, and this is the review page where we have a chance to go back and look at all of the things that we've done. We can jump to edit if we want. I'm going to click finish, and this is where we set that expiration date. It's automatically set for 180 days in the future, so you don't have to worry about, doing the math or figuring it out. I have the opportunity to quickly view it live and make sure it's exactly the way I want it to be.
Beautiful.
All right, Mara is going to talk a little bit now about the widget.
Great. So the widget is a great tool that's available to all of you as a way to promote your listings as well as drive your library patrons to other community organizations. It's very easy for you to put into your site. We can send you just a little snippet of code. Don't be scared by the word code, just a little bit of HTML. You send it on to your web designers, and it's very easy for them to put it into your website. We recommend that you put it on your library homepage, on your volunteer pages, and even on your city or county pages if that's possible. The way this works is that a library patron can come, they find this widget, they put in their zip code. When they click on go, it's going to take them directly over to the library hub that's hosted by Volunteer Match. And what you'll see on this page is that it's taken our zip code and pre-populated these boxes with only local opportunities. So if you see down below there where it says strengthen libraries, that's going to pull in only opportunities that have been posted by your local library. So only those branches that are in that special bucket that the state library provides for all of you are going to pull into that first box there and really drive volunteers to sign up for local library opportunities. And then after that, you'll see that it's highlighting local literacy opportunities, both for adults and families, and down below just general community opportunities. So this is really a tool for you all to become a community hub and a place for your patrons to get involved in the community, both in the library and beyond.
Great, thanks, Mara. I mentioned that if you wanted to put on your volunteer tab, if you had a volunteer tab, all of your opportunities from Volunteer Match, you can do that using the syndication tool. I would recommend working with your webmaster on this because it can take a little bit of specific information, but I'll show you how flexible it is. We're going to go to the Community Leader Tools, which is where you'll find all of the Greeting Manager, the Document Manager, and our Custom Question Manager if you want to set those up ahead of time. I'm going to click on the Syndication tool, and you have the opportunity to really customize how the opportunities look on your website. So if you look over here, you can see this is the sample, and as we make choices, again, you'll want to think about what you want to display. Do you want to display all of your opportunities or just a few, 5 or 10? Do you want them sorted alphabetically? Do you want them sorted by start date if your opportunities take place on a certain date, or by most recent, the ones that you've created most recently or reposted recently at the top? Do you want to include all that information, dates, location? So as I start unselecting these, you can see they disappear. Maybe I don't want the dates to show up because I don't really have dates, and I don't want the location to show up. I just want the title and the description and those, what we call demographics here, but those great 4 boxes, great for teens. I can decide what font, and again, you'll want to probably work with your webmaster because your webmaster probably knows the font name and will help you be able to figure out if you want it to be the full length or the short length, and you can decide. Again, you can see all those changes that are happening on the side. The size of the link, so that it looks just like your website. It's seamless interaction between the syndication tool and your website. You can decide the colors and, again, background colors, border colors if you want to put it around a box, body text color, so that it matches seamlessly with your website. You can put up a little message if you don't recruit year-round. And then all those changes we've been making have been creating this HTML code, and that's the language that your website is written in. So when you work with your webmaster, the webmaster could just cut and paste this into the language of your website, and it creates essentially a bridge between your Volunteer Match account and your web page, or your volunteer section of your web page, so that when you update something in your account, you add a new opportunity, you take an opportunity down, you do something as simple as change a title or change a photo, it automatically changes that connection so that those new titles show up, those opportunities come down. You only have to do it once, so you really only need 15 minutes of your webmaster's time one time, and then you essentially have control over what shows up on the volunteer tab of your library website. All right, so Mara, do we have questions?
We do. We have some great questions. We've got a question here about photos. So can you upload a photo directly from your computer, or does it need to be added to the VM account first?
Oh, that's great. So you will upload it to the VM account to your Volunteer Match account from your computer. So if you have it on a flash drive, you could probably upload it straight from your flash drive, or you could copy it to your desktop just to make it a little bit easier. You only have to do it once, and then it lives in your photo manager. So here we can see our photo manager. There are all of our photos. You can store up to 5. Once you've hit 5, your little add button will go away. So you'll either need to replace a photo or delete a photo. Replace means it goes and finds all of those listings with that photo and puts your new photo in it. Delete just means it's gone. So
great. We've got another question here about reviews. Do the reviews on your Volunteer Match account help to show a listing first when a volunteer does a search?
That's a great question, but no, they don't. They don't have any impact in your listing showing up in search results. If a volunteer does a default search, that's usually a location-based search, you can see it's by date posted. So it's really important to remember to repost. One of the things that we hear all the time is, oh, Volunteer Match works for me for a little while and then it stops working. And if you're in a major metro area and there are 1,864 opportunities, that means you've fallen to page 10 or page 20 or page 100, and people aren't seeing your opportunities anymore, so you need to go in and repost, and that's really easy to do. Just a simple click of a button, and your opportunity will go back to the top of search results.
And one thing I will say about those reviews and the search results is even though it doesn't populate it up towards the top, it is going to draw people's eyes. So you'll notice that those stars are in orange. That's kind of a bright poppy color for that page. Just as a web user myself, I tend to be drawn to those sorts of colors. So it's a review will always help you in terms of drawing more volunteers in that respect.
Great. Maybe one last question, if we have one last question?
We do. We have one last question here. On the syndication tool, if you have different account branches with different opportunities, is there a way to list them without the VM logo showing up at the bottom of each one? And that is a great question. Unfortunately, there's no way to combine multiple accounts into one tool that would separate them out without that VM logo. But you could potentially put different titles above each one of the syndication tools so that they feel a little bit separate. Your webmaster may be able to do something with kind of allowing people to click on a title and then having it, what is the word? Expand down. And that might help with that so that they're not seeing all of the different branches with the VM logos repeated. So that's one way to go about it. But certainly, if you're a webmaster, if you have any questions that you'd like to discuss with us directly, you can certainly feel free to reach out to us and we can have a conversation about how that should work specifically on your page and given your branch situation.
Great. So I'm just going to skip to the end. As Carla said, that Those slides are available. We've outlined all the details on how to make all of this work. Mara is available at the email under California Libraries _support. Our Learning Center, we are about to post all of our webinars for 2012. You're always welcome to come to our public webinars. And then you're always welcome to contact me as well. So I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
And again, if you want that code for the widget, again, emailing that California Libraries _support@volunteermatch.org is the easiest way to get it, or you can also email Carla. She has it on hand as well. Carla, did you have anything else to add?
Am I on?
You are.
Sorry. I just want to say thanks a million. I learned a lot of stuff today that I didn't know about the new wizard, so that was very helpful. I really appreciate it. And if any of you guys want to see what the site syndication looks like, you can go to library.ca.gov, that's the state library, and in the left-hand column, click on Volunteer at the Library, and you'll see what syndication looks like. And I'll also say I'm still not going to click on the older adults thing because I view myself just as an adult, but I understand completely, Jennifer, what the issues are.
Carla, where would I go to show you?
On the left, under featured links, it's Volunteer at the Library. Okay. Down a little bit further.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh, great. Yeah, so this is a great example. So if I wanted to be a newsletter editor, I would click on this, and it would take me right to Carla's opportunity on Volunteer Match.
Looks good. That's one of our new photos, so you guys get a preview of what's coming. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, I see we're just 2 minutes over time according to my my watch, but just let me say again how much I appreciate the folks at Volunteer Match and you guys spending this hour with us, and all of you who are attending today. We appreciate you too, and if we can be of any help, just give one of us a call or an email. We want you to be successful with this. That's the whole idea. So thanks again, and thanks to InfoPeople, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.